God's day, and welcome to my podcast, Ree's Being Refined by the Fires. I'm Ree, and today, excuse me, I'd like to talk to you about, I got an idea from an article that I read back in October 5th, called God Uses Our Stories. And instead of reading this to you guys like I normally do, I'll toss it because I have several stories to tell. And I realized that God uses situations in my life that I can share with you guys on this platform. He's given me this platform. And to let you see that being a Christian isn't always about having the right words to say and everything just being perfect, laid out, just falling into place. No, because my life is total chaos. Total chaos. And he's stepped in. I was thinking back on this. Actually, 3 different times I've had major things happen to me. But he turned them around. And I'm still here because of that. When I first had my first baby, the infection in my placenta that I got, how did I get an infection in my placenta? And was on antibiotics. Me and my baby had to be on antibiotics for a whole week after I gave birth. And it was an emergency C-section. And if they hadn't took my baby then, they said it was a chance that they could lose both of us. Coincidence? No. Guidance. Then, many years later, when I had my gallbladder was about to burst, and I was, in the morning, I'd be bent over the ironing board, ironing my kids' clothes to get them ready for school. And when I finally went to a doctor, she was just somebody who just was happy to have a coat on and told me that it was all in my imagination. I was just a hardworking mother that was stressed out, and because she didn't see anything, but she also didn't run any tests. So I went to another doctor who, as soon as I described what was going on with me, she didn't take it into consideration. She didn't ask anything about my day, about my lifestyle. As soon as I told her she was an older lady, mind you, if that makes a difference. And age shouldn't make a difference because you go to medical school to learn, to help your patients. So by misdiagnosing them, if I had listened to her and just went on home, my gallbladder could have burst and I could have died had I not gone and got a second opinion, like maybe a week later from another doctor. And she sent me straight to another doctor who specialized in, I don't remember what area, but it was something in your middle section. And he told me it was my gallbladder and that I was the youngest person that he had seen at that time. Dr. I can't think of his name. Anyway, it was my gallbladder and it was inflamed. The bag was about to burst. And if it had burst, I would have died because the gall that was in the bag would have poisoned my blood system. And many years later, my ticking time bomb experience. I grew up having headaches. Mama would just tell me, go take some Tylenol, and go take a nap. So I do that. Wake up feeling a little better. So and I did that for years. She never thought to take me to a doctor and get a second opinion. Not just go by her own sight, what her own experience. Even not to mention that we've had a lot of people from my great grandmother, her sisters, an uncle, several cousins, all died from strokes. But they didn't have the technology that they have now in the medical industry. So that's what saved my life. The medical technology and God using a man to know immediately what I was dealing with. I had a brain aneurysm and it had burst. So I had a ticking time bomb, literally. That was the cause of them headaches when I was growing up. Mama used to blame it on eye strain because I've been wearing glasses since I was in the 3rd grade. And she said it's because I obviously wasn't wearing my glasses, when I knew that wasn't the truth because I needed the glasses to see the board. Calm down, Ree. But I thank God that Dr. Moran knew, obviously, they had learned that there are different types of strokes. And even though mine was a rare stroke, a hereditary stroke, he was able to identify what it was because he shared that with my family who was there. My husband, with me having, we had been planning to have, he didn't want any kids at first. Like I said in my interview I did with Joanna Aquani back in during COVID, that he didn't want any kids. He said he was fine because he had helped me raise my older kids. So I have 2 sets of kids. I have an older set, then I have my baby. But he said he was good. He helped me raise my kids and was just looking forward to, spending the rest of his life with me since we was recently married. But I was like, no, you need a kid. You need a baby, y'all. And we went through, we bought stuff for her nursery, for her room, her baby bed, her comforter set from this baby boutique. So we paid some money for it. We even got a 5-foot giraffe for her and a little leopard. Mm-hmm. And big jumbo stuffed animals cost big money. But she was our baby girl, Alex's only child. So she was worth it. We spent hours and hours in Barnes and Nobles and looking through baby name books, trying to see what our little girl could be named because we wanted something unique and because both of us were artists. We met at the Art Institute of Houston. Both majored in graphic design. Well, he took some computer art classes, some web design classes too. But basically, we were both there for graphic design. And we graduated together. We're friends. We even hung out after we graduated because he moved back home here in New Orleans. Well, we moved back to Marrero. And then Couldn't find a job here, so he ended up coming back to Texas and contacted me. And me and him, we didn't know each other very well. We had some classes together, but it was like we didn't really talk. And but from that first night we talked, it was like we clicked. Because he could relate. He has an older sister that's in my age group. She's a year older than me. But still, he could relate to everything, the TV shows, the music, the culture from that time, because she was his big sister. So he could relate on my level. But yeah. So, but I'm not going to use the original article that talks about how God uses our stories, because I have several stories that of my own that can lead into this. But sorry, I have to use my paper. Oh. Frog, fully rely on God. I need to do that more often. And you probably do too. It's so much we leave up to chance and just write it off as, oh, no big deal. It's just circumstances. No, not circumstances. Guidances. Not coincidences. Guidances. God has his hands in everything. He knows your thoughts. He knows everything about you. Even if you don't verbalize it, he knows your thoughts. He knows how many hairs on your head. I don't care how well manicured you are. You don't know how many hairs you have on your head. Now that's detailed. I don't know anybody who know exactly how many hairs. I have locks now, but I can't even begin to guess how many hairs are on my head. I never could. And that was never a thought. But God knows. He knows. Even the hairs that you lose every day, he knows the adjust. He knows how many grows back, and it's accounted for. He knows it. So why should we trust him? Why should we fully rely on him? Fully rely on God. Pride? Possible. Ignorance? Mm-hmm. More likely. But anyway, we had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday as we opted to eat non-traditional foods. Like, I know normally people eat turkey dressing and have cranberry sauce and a buffet of desserts, but I cooked gumbo, which is a staple here in New Orleans. And I just love gumbo, especially when it gets cool. Yum, yum, yum. And I made a big pot. So I had gumbo, but Alex and Zon wanted Chinese food because our oven is broken. So we couldn't cook a turkey or a ham. So we had to come up with an alternative. And this just played right out because I was like, well, you know what? Since I can't have turkey, I'll fix a gumbo. And he had said, okay, well, I think we're going to have wings. I was like, wings on Thanksgiving? He was like, yeah, but. And Alex, he loves Asian food too. So they eat Chinese food. They got Chinese entrees. They went and picked them up. Well, me and Zon went and picked it up the night before on Wednesday because the Chinese restaurant was closed on Thursday too for the holiday. So we went and picked up the entrees and the side dishes that they wanted for the next day on Thanksgiving Eve. And basically that day we spent all day just being thankful, just chilling. And later that afternoon, he had talked to his sister, and her and her husband's children were home because their son, Denzel Johnson, lives in California. He's acting, and he's a good actor too. And then their daughter lives in my old hometown in Houston. She's a teacher. So we went by their house and spent a little time with them. And Ronald has a sister. My brother-in-law has a sister named Stephanie who suffered. She's a salon owner. She owns a beauty shop. And she was telling us about her experience that came up to her having a heart attack. A massive heart attack. Unbelievable. I'm going to see if I can get her on my show to tell her story because you guys have to hear it. There is a God. There is a God. Nobody but God could save her. But then on Sunday, December 1st, was our baby girl's 14th birthday. I still can't believe I have a 14-year-old. My baby is 14 years old. And she's, whew, I couldn't ask for a better child. Like I say, God gives you what you need, not what you want. And he gave me exactly what I needed. Because being older, excuse me, hold on, I need some water. My throat was dry. Feels scratchy. But her 14th birthday was on December 1st. And so was the lady who did my video testimonial, Joanna Aquani, on her channel, The Word Speaks. My interview is titled God of a Second Chance, which I've had way more than a second chance. But that's what my interview is titled. And I won't go into details about that, but it tells about my experience with my ticking time bomb in my head. That's what I call my arterial venous malformation. And I'll put the link in the description. But so we went to church that morning. I bought the 2 bouquets from them from the florist that supplies them for the church. I bought her a bouquet in honor of her birthday that day on Sunday. And I bought me a bouquet in honor of my rebirthday, or the anniversary of my brain stroke. The arterial venous malformation that was a hereditary and rare birth defect that I had been born with and had gone 43 years with a ticking time bomb in my head and not realizing it. Despite having several generations of people on my mom's side who all died from strokes. Coincidence? I don't think so. God is a purposeful God. And I thank God for giving the doctor who I'll be interviewing tomorrow and posting on December 8th, the anniversary of my brain stroke. I can't wait to hear his testimony of his experience of how he, from his first, I can't even begin to. I gave him a script of the questions that I'd be asking him, just like I do all of my guests. But I'm going to have to start a special show and call it 12/8, like 24/7 for 24 days, 24 hours, 7 days a week. Mine will be 12/8 for December 8th, the anniversary of my brain stroke. But and I'll be posting his interview on December 8th. But normally on December 8th, I spend all that day. That day is truly my day of Thanksgiving. Because God didn't have to save me. He didn't. But he did. And he's done it on more than one occasion. I shouldn't be here. I've had several. I've thought about this over the years. Well, the past few weeks, I've really thought about this. But I've had several major medical emergencies that could have taken me away from here. But time and time again, he was like, nope, can't let you go. And I give all thanks be to God for saving me for such a time as this, for giving me a platform to share my story, to help others out who may be going through something similar, or to share my experiences, because we're all in this together and knowledge is power. Just like my mom didn't pay attention or didn't realize that that was something that was running in our family, even though we had several family members for generations die from strokes. They never put two and two together. Then after I had my stroke, she came down here and, they helped take care of me or do whatever she could do, be supportive for Alex and the baby. And then when she went back home, she went and found her neurologist to test her. And come to find out, she has one too. But she didn't grow up having headaches the way I did. Her younger brother, my Uncle Junior, my younger cousin Keisha's dad, Keisha has one too. Why? Because the birth defect runs on their side of the family. From my mom's mom, the majority of her sisters, we've had uncles, cousins die. Generations of people taken away by strokes. And thank God for allowing the medical field to advance to where it is now, because I could have died and they would have just wrote it off as stroke and not really investigated to find out what type of stroke. Now they know there are different types of strokes. That's how Dr. Lucian Moran knew that mine was a birth defect. It wasn't just a coincidence. It wasn't a regular stroke. Mine didn't come from high blood pressure or drinking or bad diet. It was a birth defect. And there's nothing that I could have did to avoid what happened to me. It didn't make it any better that for the first, for 3 weeks. Zon's due date was actually the day I had my brain stroke. Coincidence? I don't think so. Don't think so. God's a purpose for God. He uses that to teach us lessons. And we're to share those lessons with others, like I'm doing with you guys now. But no, I don't believe it was a coincidence. God knew what would happen. And he worked it all out. Because I've often wondered, I had the heart attack when we lived in Metairie. I was rushed to East Jefferson Hospital. But I did my rehabilitation. Oh, I also had a mild heart attack when I was in ICU, recovering from the emergency surgery I had to save me. But I had a mild heart attack. And I've mentioned before how I have seizures. I'm going to ask Dr. Moran tomorrow, I've been told that the seizures are caused by the scar tissue on my brain. But you know what? It don't even matter. I'm just glad to still be here 14 years later. And I've come a long way. A long way. Thanks be to God for putting me with a husband that was a light sleeper. Heard me gurgling across the bed. And when he called my name, I didn't respond. He got up, came over, and found me stroked out with our newborn, less than 7-day-old baby sleeping between. Because it wasn't even, she was born at 8 something in the morning. It was still dark outside when he found me. Thank God for working all those little details out. Because had I been with the 2 other husbands I was with before, they were hard sleepers. Hard sleepers. But the husband that I have now, he's a light sleeper. Total opposite. Just what I needed when I needed it. And that's just it. God will give you what you need, not what you want. Yeah. But I finally got in touch with Dr. Moran. And I found out that, because I was wondering, how did I get from East Jefferson and Metairie to Turo in New Orleans? Come to find out, Turo is a hospital that he used to work at years ago, and he knew they had an excellent rehab department, a whole department just for rehabilitation of stroke patients. So it was a no-brainer. That's how I ended up being moved from a transfer from East Jefferson to Turo in an ambulance, because it was, and I don't remember the trip. So I just knew that I don't remember East Jefferson at all. That showed the mindset that I was in. But Turo did a wonderful job. Wonderful job. And Dr. Moran is only going to be my first interview. I want to interview everybody who had a hand in my care. And I will be posting them every year until I run out of people on 12/8. I don't care what day of the week it is. On 12/8, that's going to be the day it's posted. Because they did an awesome job. I've come a long way. Like, you come a long way, baby. I really have. I really have. Yeah. But so moving right along, the title of this episode, Frog, which stands for fully, hold on, fully relying on God. Do you fully rely on God all the time? I know I don't. And that's gotten me in trouble way more times than I care to think or share. But God has his way of making things turn around and us having to come back and do it again and again and again till we get it right. But fully relying on God is, I've gotten so used to wearing this little elastic band, because it's like a rubber band around my wrist, that I wasn't paying attention anymore. And I happened to be at Dollar Tree. I was picking up some stuff. I don't even remember what I was getting, but the cashier who was checking out my purchase, asked something about a frog. And I looked, I was like, where? And he was like, on your wrist. And I was like, on my wrist? So I looked down, and what do I see? Frog. And then I go on to tell him, oh, that stands for fully rely on God. Okay, I know I've had a brain stroke and my memory isn't as good as it used to be. But how on earth did I forget what this stands for? It's actually written on the band, Frog, fully rely on God. So why have I gotten so far away from not doing that? Fully relying on God. I did a video earlier this year with my daughter, Michelle, because my husband is just like, I can't take it. You got to do something about your area, because my work area is, as soon as he walk in the house, it's not the back door, but it's the kitchen door. As soon as he walk in, my desk is right there. Boom. So he see all of my mess, all of my papers, and it's messy. But I've just been like, accepted it. This is the new me. This is just the way I am. You're going to have to accept me. Which isn't fair to him or me, because it stresses me out, because I have to go through all those papers. I can never find anything. And papers are just piling up. I have piles. He says ant piles. And it is. I've even extended it onto the cabinet, the table. And now I work on my laptop computer on the island, because my desk is so messy. I don't have any elbow room to spread out. I need more room. And the island is clean, normally, if it don't have any of my piles on it. But I'm going to have to follow what this says. Fully rely on God. And finally, get rid of all the stuff. And I've even had recently, it was a couple of weeks ago, the pastor of our church, Pastor A or Aaron, he said the night before he typed up his sermon, printed it out, and the next morning he intended to go and get it off the printer to bring it to the church with him so he could Now he could use it as his notes to preach from. But guess what? That didn't happen. He left it on the printer. So when he got to church and realized it, he was like, oh, Lord, what am I going to do? I need you, Lord. I need you to get me through this sermon. Help me use my mouth to tell your people what you want them to know. What? If there was ever a time that I was tuned in, that hit me like a rock right upside my head. Like, rely on God. Fully rely on God. Yeah. So that's what I'm going to do. From this point forward, I'm going home and I'm getting rid of all of my papers and clutter so I can work at my desk and be organized. And it's going to be so freeing. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be a new read. So, but, all right, knock my water off. Over. I can't wait. I can't wait. And I've been hesitating and putting it off again and putting it off, but that's something that needs to happen soon. This is the last Did You Know of this season. It's been a good season. And on December 8th, like I say, I'll be hosting my first 12-8 with none other than the man that God used, his knowledge and his hands, his skills, to keep me here for such a time as this. So please tune in. Thanks. Please like, subscribe, and share with someone else who would be entertained by this content. See you Monday.